All right, what's up guys? Justin, the WOD nutritionist here at CBG. We help you lose body fat, build muscle, crush your WODs without tracking macros. Today, I'm running a podcast, but it's also my first YouTube video. So here we are. Smash that subscribe button. First time, I've been wanting to say that for a really long time. So smash it, subscribe to the CBG channel, and I'm excited to bring you guys a lot more content here over the next year. Now, today's topic is going to be centered around bodybuilding. And I guess what you guys might be wondering is bodybuilding versus CrossFit versus running versus marathons versus weightlifting and powerlifting. There's so many things out there. What is the right training for you? Today, I'm going to be comparing CrossFit to bodybuilding. So today's YouTube video is about how you can beat Arnold Schwarzenegger in a workout, and it's true. If you're doing CrossFit, you probably can, because bodybuilding and CrossFit are so different, and there are several advantages to both. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, first thing I would say is when it comes to CrossFit, right, there is a lot bigger of a community. Meaning, when you go into your CrossFit box, you experience the love and the community and from your coaches that, quite frankly, you don't get in bodybuilding gyms, right? Whether you're just going to a Globo gym, a LA Fitness, or anytime, there's not the camaraderie, love, support, community, encouragement that you get at your CrossFit gym. Now, why is this important? The reason this is important is because it's something that allows for you to keep training consistently and sustainably, right? So for us, a lot of times, what we should continue to do in terms of the training that is going to bring the goals that we want is really going to be through what we can stick to consistently. Now, for me, I am always more consistent with others around me, giving community support, accountability. And that comes from coaches, that comes from our friends, it comes from our box, right? Now with bodybuilding, you don't really get as much of that. And so this happened during COVID, right? It was very hard for me to stay consistent in my garage gym. I needed to go back to a CrossFit gym to start seeing the results that I wanted and to stay consistent with my training. I couldn't just work out in my garage gym. That may not be you. You might feel and be more of an introverted person where you're able to maybe not do as much in a community and surrounded by other people. And so therefore, this may not be such a disadvantage, but I find most people need continuous motivation, accountability, support to build habits and discipline to stay consistent with their training. And CrossFit is gonna provide way more of that at your box with your community than bodybuilding, right? And so this is one thing that I would consider when you're thinking bodybuilding versus CrossFit. What's going to be the better fit for me so that I can reach my goals over the long term? And that's going to be from staying more consistent. So CrossFit gyms foster really a sense of community with members supporting, motivating each other through the workouts, challenging them. And in contrast, bodybuilding is often pursued individually, right? You may have one training partner. There's less of an emphasis on community engagement and support. So when choosing between these two, consider what type of person you are. Are you an extrovert, needs that accountability, or are you an introverted person that is really intrinsically motivated? Now, number two, as we know, the styles of training are very different, right? Bodybuilding is linear progressions. CrossFit has some of that as well, but it's linear progressions. It's lifting more weight and doing some of the same exercises, whereas CrossFit has a wide range of functional modalities, right? Wall balls, double unders, ring muscle ups, box jumps, running, rowing, you name it. There are so many different things that we can do, and they're adding more movements every single year for advanced athletes, for beginner athletes, etc., right? And so functional fitness is the underlying principle that makes CrossFit, I think, so amazing, right? We're able to do so much more with our bodies than said bodybuilding, where they're doing a lot of movements, not for functionality, but for aesthetics, right? We'll get into the aesthetic side later. However, functional is important because being functional is really what allows for us to have longevity in life. It's getting up and off the toilet. It's getting up off the ground if you fall. It's being able to open car doors, get inside of your car. And as we get older, the more muscle we have and the better functionality and mobility we have, it is super, super important. And so for functional fitness, CrossFit emphasizes functional movements that translate into real life activities, enhancing overall fitness levels as opposed to just localized muscular based enhancements, which is what bodybuilding tends to focus on. So working on different muscle groups is still happening in CrossFit, and you're still able to build muscle and have some of those benefits that you get from doing bodybuilding and hypertrophy training, but also it remains functional and it's really, really fun. And so I would say that's number 2, is having a varied approach and diverse approach to the type of training. Also ties back into number 1, making it more sustainable with the community and the support. And now we have a multitude of movements we can try to improve on, which also makes it super exciting, right? Making something exciting in this way allows us to stay more attentive and continue to push ourselves to be consistent with other members. So that's number 2. I would say number 3 is the overall atmosphere at a CrossFit gym versus that of bodybuilding. A lot of people transition from bodybuilding, bro splits, bis and tris, chest and back, legs, calves, traps, whatever, and they transition to bodybuilding. Why? They transition to bodybuilding or from bodybuilding to CrossFit because bodybuilding is boring. It can be very boring and monotonous. Now, are there ways to make it more fun? Sure, right? But CrossFit is exciting. You have the open, you have athletes that we can latch onto and meet, and it's just a more exciting experience to get a great workout and do it with others. Whereas bodybuilding, there's not really a lot of intensity. There's resting between sets, right? There's intensity in the set, but there's resting between sets. It's really about, the only way you can make it more creative is just picking the weights and the reps that you wanna do, which in CrossFit, that changes every single workout. You have AMRAPs in CrossFit. You have EMOMs in CrossFit. You have for time workouts in CrossFit. You have intervals in CrossFit. I mean, I can go on and on and on with the type of workouts that you can experience doing CrossFit and functional fitness as opposed to bodybuilding, where it's how many sets are you doing, how many reps are you doing for X body part. And so there's no event like that for bodybuilding. You're either at the top of the sport and you look jacked and you're getting on stage, or you're just somebody that goes to a Globo gym. CrossFit, everybody can do the open. We're all doing it right now. 24.3 is gonna be released today as I'm recording this. How exciting is that? How exciting is it that we can involve ourselves and do the same workouts as Danielle Brandon? We do the same workout as Chandler Smith, compare our scores, watch them do it, and have hope that we can continue to get better each and every year. And so this is another reason I would consider, if you like just training in a monotonous way and you don't really care about diversity so much, and you're really just a part of a process of just wanting to build muscle and hypertrophy, and that's it, great. Continue to do bodybuilding. If not, transitioning over to CrossFit may be an amazing solution for you. So just have more exciting of a workout experience each and every time you go into your gym. Now, another thing is the nutrition. So this is what I would say is point 4. When it comes to the nutrition side, I like the way we can fuel our bodies at CrossFit a lot more than what we do in bodybuilding. So I would argue bodybuilding has caused a lot of trauma for both men and women around the world for years, right? Comparing ourselves to look a certain way compared to others. I understand bodybuilding is a sport, but from the nutrition side, there are a lot of inaccuracies that have come out of the bodybuilding world, and comparing ourselves to people has caused only eating disorders, body dysmorphia, and a lot of other problems. And bodybuilders themselves will tell you this. A lot of them, when they finish bodybuilding, they have a lot of dysmorphia and a lot of issues with the way that they eat food and the way that they feel about their body and their overall confidence when they're not competing anymore. And so it is important to recognize this, is that the bodybuilding movement, as great as it was for people to build more strength and to care about what they're putting into their bodies more, there were a lot of cons that came out of it as well. I think CrossFit is helping people get back on track here in the United States of America to feel confident in their bodies, not just for what it looks like, but for what we can do. And so from the nutrition side, you've seen 70s and 80s, chicken, broccoli, rice. They have bodybuilders out there that have no nutrition background besides for themselves creating meal plans for people. Meal plans is where it tells you exactly how much food to eat and when throughout every single period of the day. This is illegal. Only registered dietitians can create meal plans. And you have bodybuilding coaches out there creating meal plans for people. This is illegal. They can't do this. Eating the same foods over and over again also is not a healthy relationship with food. And so bodybuilders tend to eat this way because it's simple for them. I'm gonna eat X to get result Y. There's nothing else out of it besides food being fuel and using the leanest sources of carbohydrates, of protein, of vegetables, goals is just the best way. And so that's how they eat. This causes restrictiveness for people that don't have the goals of being on stage and just go to a Globo gym that follows suit with what some of these bodybuilders do. And that restrictiveness causes binge eating. It can cause other more further complications, and it causes us only to crave those foods more that we're not having. And so following a bodybuilder's diet from the 70s, 80s, 90s, which has caused so many issues amongst the United States with how we view our bodies, how we feel about the way that we look in our overall confidence, is what I don't like about the nutrition side of bodybuilding. And not to say every bodybuilder just eats chicken, broccoli, and rice. That's probably not the case. But as they get closer to on stage, this is what they're eating. And I have so many people coming to me weekly saying, I work with this bodybuilder coach and this is what we did. I'm like, you're not even doing bodybuilding. Why are you working with a bodybuilding coach? Why is this bodybuilding coach giving you a meal plan that's illegal? You're doing CrossFit. We need to fuel our bodies appropriately. Now, nutrient timing comes very, very important and into play for those doing 4 to 5 WODs per week, right? And so in coupling protein and carbohydrates around our workout is very important. And we have a more diversity of foods that we can choose from, right? And that we want to choose from to keep something sustainable and make sure that it makes sense. And so this is the fourth sort of principle I would say is why CrossFit has many advantages over bodybuilding, is really the culprits of a lot of the bodybuilding movement, especially the nutrition side and how we view our bodies, right? CrossFit really focuses instead on what our bodies can do. And once you do eat the right foods at the right times and the right amounts, your body will naturally reciprocate and you will look more fit. So that's what I would say is number 4. Now, there's a couple things, obviously, where CrossFit has some limitations. These limitations, I'm gonna go over here in a second, but it's something to consider when you're thinking about all this, right? And so for bodybuilding so far, I would say if you don't really like community and support and you're more of an introvert, definitely bodybuilding's totally fine, right? No issues there. Number 2, if you don't care about being functional and you just care about hypertrophy and making gains, you don't really care about, what your functionality as you get older, I would say also bodybuilding, fine. No problem. Don't need to do CrossFit if you don't care about functionality. And then 3, it's really the not caring about the open, the events, the camaraderie, and just things that make it more exciting and the intensity around it. If you just kind of just want to be low key, you want to go to the gym, get in your workout, you want to leave, that's fine. Bodybuilding's probably for you. Lastly, the nutrition side, which I just went over. Now, one other thing to consider is injury. Now, there's a couple things I want to consider here, and there's a lot of meta-analyses that have shown that CrossFit is in fact have a higher injury risk than bodybuilding. Although CrossFit has a lower injury risk than most sports, it tends to have a higher risk than bodybuilding. Now, we can look at this as a con and say, well, I don't want to get injured, I'm going to do bodybuilding. I would argue that the reason that this is the case, and which is why a lot of these studies need to be considered further, even meta-analyses in this way, is that for bodybuilding, we're not pushing ourselves to end ranges of motion a lot of the times and not at higher intensities, which has a lot of benefits, which I'll also go over. So if you're not training with as high of an intensity, right, and you're not training as frequently with the intensity that CrossFit requires through 4-time workouts and reps, yes, your injury risk is going to be low. From the office, what's the best way to not get injured going skiing? Don't ski, right? That's the line from Daryl. So that is what is kind of happening here. Why these meta-analyses have these bias to where bodybuilding is safer than CrossFit. So that's one thing to consider. Now, other than that, the only other thing I would say is that CrossFit's a little bit more expensive, right? You're going to pay more for a group fitness atmosphere, and rightfully so, than it is you paying $20 to go into your Globo gym and then just do the workout. Now, I will say this, a lot of Globo gyms, Anytime Fitness, Snap Fitness, LA Fitness, they're hinging upon the fact and leveraging upon the fact that you're not going to show up. Because if everyone did, what would happen? The gym would be too packed and wouldn't be a place for you to work out. So with this being the case, are you actually getting the benefits that you want from the membership you're paying? Or are you just throwing money down the toilet every single month because you're not actually attending your gym? The most expensive thing in life that we pay for is not based off how much it is, but based on the value that we're getting back. So consider that the next time you're thinking about, bodybuilding, CrossFit, what do I want to do? Last thing I'll say, CrossFit tends to not have enough strength hypertrophy training in it. It's very much do this gymnastic skill, do a Metcon. Or hey, we're going to do this little bit of strength, do a Metcon. That's typically not enough. So incorporating some bodybuilding 2 to 3 times per week into your already existing CrossFit routine and 4 to 5 WODs per week, I highly recommend. It's important for everyone. It's important for men, women in menopause, menopause, postmenopausal women, you name it, strength training is very, very important. Don't skip it, right? Now, here's some data. I'm gonna go some data points through a chart that I pulled up here from a recent study that kind of shows on a scale of 1 to 10 the type of exercise someone's doing, in this case, bodybuilding versus CrossFit, and what the benefits are for different categories. So for example, bodybuilding versus CrossFit, we have endurance. Bodybuilding gets a score of 3 for endurance. Not much, cardiovascular training inside of bodybuilding, and so it gets a 3, whereas CrossFit, it's a 7. So super, super important here. Cardiovascular activity is very important for heart health as well as brain health, and so having more endurance-based improvements, you're gonna get that from CrossFit, not from bodybuilding. Next is stamina, very much tied into endurance, but it's basically the amount and use of energy. That use of energy for CrossFit, 7. For bodybuilding, 4. So CrossFit wins again in this category. Number 3 is strength, right? And in the strength category, it looks like they're even. Bodybuilding an 8, CrossFit an 8. It's not a lot of 1-rep maxes in bodybuilding. However, they are doing high percentages to make sure that they give their body a reason to change and build the muscle that they want. And so they come up even on this one. Flexibility. Flexibility, it looks like bodybuilding is a 4, CrossFit is an 8. As we stated before, flexibility and mobility are different, but as they relate towards the comparison between bodybuilding and CrossFit, much more mobility and flexibility doing CrossFit than you ever would doing bodybuilding. Next is power output. Power is defined here as a force in minimal time, okay? And so for bodybuilding, it's a 5, CrossFit an 8. CrossFit wins again. Next, speed, which is the time to repeat a movement over and over and over again, whatever that movement is. And for CrossFit, it looks like speed is a 9 for CrossFit and a 7 for bodybuilding. Excellent. CrossFit wins again. Coordination, 3 for bodybuilding. For CrossFit, a 10. This is why, dumbbell unders, box jumps, all that coordination is really going to come into play, right? Next, agility. For agility, bodybuilding, a 3, CrossFit, a 10. CrossFit wins again on the agility scale. Balance for bodybuilding, a 4. For CrossFit, 10. Excellent. CrossFit wins again. And this is how you control your body in space. Lastly, accuracy. Wall balls, things like that. For CrossFit, a 10. For bodybuilding, a 2. No accuracy really necessary. So in this study, they demonstrated this, and I think they demonstrated it effectively to showcase that amongst a lot of different varieties of how you can improve as a human based on movement, CrossFit is superior to bodybuilding, hands down. The only thing that they're even in, it looks like, is strength. Everything else, CrossFit takes the W. So consider this when you're thinking about moving back to bodybuilding, or if you're a bodybuilder right now and you want to start trying some CrossFit. I would incorporate both, and I like the benefits of both. It just depends on what you like more and what fits your lifestyle. All right. So if you're doing CrossFit, you're already beating Arnold Schwarzenegger in CrossFit workouts. It doesn't matter how much he lifts or what he does. CrossFit is functional. CrossFit is fun. The community is great. And so I recommend CrossFit every single day over bodybuilding. Hit that subscribe button if you found this video useful. I will see you guys next time. My name is Justin. I'm the WOD nutritionist. Here at CBG, we help you lose body fat, build muscle, crush your WODs without tracking macros. If you want to book a call with my team to see if you qualify for our one-on-one nutrition program so we can help you look like you CrossFit in the next 90 days, guaranteed, no tracking macros necessary, click the link below this video, book a call, and I'll see you soon.